Okay, my friends, I got a really good one for you today, because today I'm going to show you exactly what plants you can plant in your garden to naturally and safely and organically deter pests. All right, so there's a lot of confusion about this, and I'm going to clear it up in this video. What is intercropping? Well, essentially it's planting certain plants next to other plants, and this works because most pests, like the cabbage moth, for example, they like a certain type of plant only, the brassicas. Okay, so the white little cabbage moth you'll see in your garden sometimes, it'll fly around and it'll land on a bunch of different plants, but it wants to find an abundance of brassica only plants. So if it's going around and it lands on a brassica, a cabbage leaf, okay, but then it lands on a marigold leaf, then it lands on a garlic leaf, it kind of short circuits it. All right, so it makes it really unwelcoming to them. All right, pests really like it when you plant one crop of all the exact same thing. That's what they love, because they can just breed prolifically. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly the 7 crops that I know for a fact work, because I've used them with great success. And now I'm going to distill all of that knowledge and give it to you at no cost. So let's get into it. First, if you're appreciating these videos, my friends, give the video a thumbs up and share it with anyone that you think could benefit from this knowledge, okay? Because that's what it's all about, and I'm trying to grow this channel, and you know I love growing things, all right? Okay, so first I'm going to give you the rundown of the plants, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you like a montage of clips of how I actually use them in the garden. Okay, from years previous. And this is very important because there's techniques to how you use this stuff, all right? So listen up, my friends. Number 1, garlic. Garlic is a wonderful pest deterrent. It releases odors. It's much more than just a vampire deterrent. It releases odors that other insects, they don't like. And even animals don't like it. Nothing messes with the garlic, really. Now here is, okay, this is garlic. Now, here is the secret, okay? You have to have 2 different kinds of garlic. It's the same garlic, but you have your fall planted garlic that you plant in the fall time, and that's the garlic that you space evenly and you let it get nice and big and you grow it for the big bulb, okay? That's your eating garlic, your fall garlic. But your pest deterrent garlic doesn't have to be like that. You can simply go to the store, to the organic store, and get some organic garlic cloves, break them apart, and plant them throughout your garden. Just place them all over the place. Where you're going to place future plants, it doesn't matter, okay? And they will sprout up. Even now it's springtime. They will sprout up and they will grow a garlic plant. It will be small. It's not going to be that big, nice, chunky garlic from the fall planting garlic, but it doesn't matter. This is almost like a sacrificial type garlic that is all for pest deterrent, okay? So you'll see in the montage how I plant it all up in the midst of everything. And the double benefit is that you can, at any point throughout the summer, you can take your spring garlic, pull it up, and you cook with the garlic bulb, okay? So that's how you do that. And you also want to do the same thing with the second crop, which is onions, okay? You have your main crop, onions, which you plant from seed, which you would have done because you watched my video about planting onions from seed and why. So you have those in their own location, nice and spread out, everything nice and fertilized and stuff like that. But then your pest deterrent onions can simply be onion sets that you get from the feed store or wherever, okay? Now most people grow these as their actual onions, but onions grown from set, they don't store well. They just don't, because they're already in their 2nd year of growth. So instead, you can use these onion sets to place all throughout your garden. Where any of your leafy greens are going to be, place them all around. You'll see in the montage that that's what I do. And so it doesn't matter how big they get. They're not going to get that big, but it doesn't matter. And again, at any point during the season, you can come pull it up and cook with it, okay? Next plant is going to be marigolds, one of my favorites. I love the smell. I love to make garlands with the marigolds, yes? When I was traveling in India, marigolds are everywhere. The garlands, you can smell them, so fragrant. So you want to grow the large African type or the Hawaiian type. The real 2 to 3 foot tall ones, you grow some of those, but also grow some of the dwarf ones as well. And some of the yellow ones, I saved these. Grow the marigolds, okay? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why right now. Because you plant your garlic and onion deterrents in the very early spring, at the beginning of the year, and they will sprout up and they will start deterring pests right away during the spring and into midsummer. But then they'll fade out mid to late summer, and by that time your marigolds are just coming into full bloom, and they're going to have their pest deterrent capability. Okay, do you see that timing thing? This is so important, my friends, if you want success with this. So next one is going to be calendulas. I love this flower. I love it. Okay, you can plant this at the same time that you're planting your garlic as well. Very early spring, right now or even a month ago. But calendula, they deter tons of pests. It's also called the pot marigold. Now, I believe it's probably called the pot marigold because if you don't put it in a pot, it's going to spread rapidly. It's going to self-sow. So you plant the calendula once, and you can plant them in really wet soil. It doesn't matter. They'll sprout when the conditions are right. They won't rot. So calendula will grow tall by early summer. You'll see the blooms, and then they'll self-seed even in the same year, so that by the end of that year, you will have like 2 or even 3 generations of calendulas happening. And you see, I've got like 5 bags of this, and this is nothing compared to what they produce. So if you just planted calendula in an area and left it for like 2 or 3 years, it would be a full-on carpet of the most beautiful wildflowers. They get about 1.5 foot tall. Okay, great at deterring pests and so easy to grow. Next thing, nasturtiums. Now, nasturtiums are wonderful to plant because they like to snake through. Plant them with your potatoes, okay? Because the nasturtium is like a vine, and it will creep through and position itself so that it doesn't really disturb any of the other stuff that's around it. So you can plant nasturtiums right up in the midst of stuff. And that's one of the best things about it. Now, nasturtiums are going to be more like the marigolds in the sense that they come to fruition later in the summer. All right, you plant them. I find that they don't really take off until after the solstice, until after late June. All right, but these are really tasty as well, edible. All this stuff's edible, okay? But these are really tasty, and they're one of my favorite flowers. Pollinators love them, and they've got a real spicy kind of mustardy smell and taste to them. You can make kippers out of the seeds, and they produce tons and tons of seeds. But these will go along the ground, okay? Nasturtiums will travel along the ground and deter pests the whole way, my friends, okay? The next thing is mint, all right? Now, the way to use mint is not to plant it up in your garden, all right? Because it is a very voracious, incredibly robust plant, and it loves to spread. It puts up a shoot, and then the very first thing it does, as soon as you see leaves above ground, it starts putting down a secret underground shoot over here, and then it pops up again. So that even if you pulled this one's already up. And then it does that. As soon as you see it pop up, it's already putting its little secret runner so that it spreads. And within 1 or 2 seasons, wherever you put mint, it will be now a mint garden, okay? So the best way to use mint in the garden for pest deterrent effects is to grow plenty of it. Grow it in its own place where you can let it spread, then cut it down when it's nice and tall and fragrant, and use those as like a mulch around your brassicas, they really work good around brassicas, or around potatoes or peppers or whatever it is. Just use it as a mulch, okay? And the smell, a lot of insects don't like the smell, right? That's the best way to use it, okay? Heed my warning now. If you plant mint in the garden, it's going to become a mint garden. So the next thing is actually, I'm not sure if it itself actually deters pests or if what it attracts is what deters the pests. They love the coxcomb, yeah? The big bumblebees and wasps and things like that, really beneficial. The predatory wasps that we want, okay? We want the predatory wasp in the garden. They eat the cabbage moths, and this will attract them. Plus, it is a gorgeous flower, and you can eat the leaves like spinach, and it just blows your place up with pollinators, okay? So this is it. Garlics, onion, marigold, calendula, mint, nasturtium, coxcomb. Honorable mention is fennel. Fennel's a very good pest deterrent, except I didn't put it on the list because it gets so huge. It would shade out the garden and stuff. But again, if you had an area to grow it, you could grow a big fennel plant, cut it, and use it as mulch around the garden. And that will also deter pests, okay? So let us get into the montage. Okay, here it is the middle of April and things are just starting to sprout up. Now, what I want you to see is the spacing of everything. See, I've got onions and garlic all interplanted throughout the collard greens and the cabbages. You see the transplant shock, yellow little collard greens? Well, they're going to grow up nice and big because you see the onions and garlic are protecting them. Okay, now here's a few weeks later, the cabbages and Swiss chard are really starting to do well. Now you notice on the right side, you see the garlic is sort of laying down, but that's okay because the plants are still surviving and doing their pest repelling duties. And it's the same here with all the the collard greens. You see tons of garlic and onions. To some people, this might appear a little bit messy, but I assure you there is a method to the madness. You see, here is a picture in the same spot a couple weeks later. Everything is growing up and helping each other. The calendulas here are just coming into bloom. Notice in this picture, calendula and marigold are surrounding, literally touching the leaves of this collard green plant, and that's what it takes. Okay, I'm going to show you a few pictures of my brassicas, and I want you to notice, one, how good they look and how virtually pest-free they are, and two, how close I'm planting garlic, onions, marigolds, calendula. You plant them right up in the midst of everything. That's how it works. You see in this picture, these kale plants are surrounded. They've got sage on one side, they've got nasturtiums just coming up on the other, and they've got garlic and onions on the other side. Okay, and a big major benefit of growing the garlic and onions along next to these is that throughout the summer, you can simply pull up the garlic or onions and use them as you want. It doesn't matter if they're fully developed. Well, this one's actually a pretty good size. But look, I planted this in the springtime. It was totally crowded out in the midst of cabbages or collards or something, and it still produced a bulb like this. Okay, and right as the garlic and onions are being pulled out of the ground and harvested, the coxcomb and the marigolds are just coming into full swing, producing beautiful flowers attracting pollinators and odoriferous resins to repel pests. But they also attract predators, such as this praying mantis on the mint leaves. And then by late summer, everything is in full bloom. Things are being harvested. Things are going to seed and replenishing themselves. And it's time to plant cover crops. Everything is getting, sauerkraut's getting fermented. Kimchi's getting made. All kinds of stuff. Winter squash are getting cured for storage in the basement. Seeds are getting saved for next year. All kinds of stuff is happening. It is such a wonderful time. And you can now use this knowledge to dramatically help reduce the pressure of pests in your garden. You see how I have everything planted right up? High intensity is what we call this, but it works. In nature, there is never open ground, okay? So keep it covered, keep a wide variety and diversity of plants, and you will have success.